Good evening. My name is Niles Ellingson. I'm a resident here at Cross Keys Village. We're happy to have you come out and participate in our candidate forum. We have three candidates whose name will be on the ballot this coming May 21st and during the primary election, and they are seeking one is seeking re-election, and two are seeking the sheriff position for Adams County. Wanted to just say one thing about tonight's event. This is an event for and by the residents here at Cross Keys Village. The administration and Cross Keys itself cannot participate in these kinds of activities, but we can as residents. And so this is an event that we are having just for the residents and anyone else in the community. We are going to be opening, allowing each candidate to open with some remarks, and then we'll have some questions that we've developed for the candidates. We will allow them also to have a period of closing remarks, and you can participate also. Les Stansbaugh is in the back with a microphone, and if you have any questions, just raise your hand and make sure you have the microphone, and you'll be able to ask your questions. So maybe we can just have the individuals identified. Sheriff James Muller is on the my far right, and Constable Mike Redding, identify himself, and then we have Sergeant Brian Dayton. So let's give them a round of applause. Yeah. Sheriff, you wanted to be first or last?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. We'll have you then give some opening remarks, anyone that you want to make.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Is this on here then?
Yeah.
Or it's not on? Can you hear me all right? All right, now you can, I guess. I'd like to start by thanking you for allowing me to come here tonight and speak to you. Again, my name is Jim Muller, and I'm your sheriff here in Adams County. To tell you a little bit about myself, I've lived in Adams County for about 55 years now. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Beth, sitting back here. I have 3 children and 6 grandchildren. I'm a combat veteran and joined the Marine Corps in 1965, where I spent the next 4 years in a recon battalion. And I served in Vietnam in 1966 and 1967 with 3rd Force Recon as a squad leader. I achieved the rank of E5 Sergeant and held that rank until my discharge in 1969. Upon leaving the Marine Corps, I became a bricklayer and eventually owned and operated my own masonry company. I stayed in this field for the next 25 years until I got into law enforcement, which I've been in for the past 23 years. My law enforcement experience has entailed working as a PA state constable, a prison guard, a county detective, a special deputy U.S. Marshal, deputy sheriff, and now your sheriff. I've been in the sheriff's office for over 15 years now, 7 of those years as your sheriff. And if you ask me why I'm running again, I'd have to say it's because I love my job. I like what I do. I always have. I feel I've been fortunate enough in my life to have had 2 main jobs. One as a bricklayer for 25 plus years, and the other in law enforcement for going on to 23 years. And I've loved them both. In all that time, I could never recall getting up in the morning and not wanting to go to work. And with my 23 plus years in law enforcement, the last 15 being in the sheriff's office, and the past 7 plus as your sheriff, I feel I have a pretty good idea of how to run the office and be as cost efficient as possible. We've made a lot of positive changes in the office since I took over, and we're still improving each day. For example, by the use of the school bus we acquired using no taxpayer funding and converting it to a prisoner transport, we have saved the county approximately $30,000 annually. Since taking over the transportation duties from the constables to and from Central Court, we've saved the county over $25,000 a year for the past 3 years. We have contracted the services of the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections to transport prisoners from throughout the Commonwealth to SCI Camp Hill at the rate of 18 cents per mile, and this effort resulted in a savings of $4,184 in wages, a reduction of 13,933 miles saved on our vehicles, and a savings of 261.5 staffing hours, which we were able to redirect to other functions within the office like civil work or warrant duties. As to my opponent's claims that there are 8,000 outstanding warrants in the county, as of yesterday, that figure stands at 6,004, not 8,000. It's also important to understand that out of those 6,004 warrants, 982 people are responsible for over 3,000 of them, which means these people have multiple warrants. Also, 2/3 are for traffic or summary offenses, and over 1,000 are for child support or non-payment of fines. They're not felony warrants, which we work with the U.S. Marshals to serve, which I think that the last count we had like maybe 27 felony warrants. There are about 4,246 district magistrate warrants, and they are the primary responsibility of the 18 constables in the county. We had some issues here. The constables didn't approve of us serving these warrants, didn't like us serving these warrants, so there will be a court order coming down soon that will prohibit our office from attempting to serve these warrants until the constables have had at least 30 days to attempt to make service first. Then it's open to anybody that can go ahead and serve them. And as to the remaining 1,754 Court of Common Pleas warrants, which are our primary responsibility as the Sheriff's Office, we have tripled our warrant service to the point where, as of today, we have either served, attempted service, or sent information to other states on all of our 1,754 Court of Common Pleas warrants. In an attempt to increase courthouse security while decreasing costs to the taxpayer, we had hoped to merge courthouse security with the Sheriff's Office. Since that wasn't feasible, we have done the next best thing by working with the current county commissioners and the current director of security to better communicate and coordinate our efforts to achieve the primary goal, and that is the safety of the courthouse and everyone who works and or conducts business there. Concerning our bomb dog and our one horse, there have been claims that these are once of mine and are not needed. One has only to look at the recent Boston Marathon bombing to see that they are needed. I acquired both of these animals because they are a way for me to give back to the community while providing a very valuable service to the residents of this county, and it should be noted that currently our office has the only certified bomb dog in the county. Both of these were donated to the Sheriff's Office to be used for not only bomb detection but also missing persons and search and rescue. I am responsible for and the sole handler for both these animals. I pay for them out of my own pocket, and no county money is used for their upkeep. If I am called out, which I frequently am because I'm a salaried employee, there is no cost to the county taxpayers. I have put myself on call 24/7, not because I'm paid to do it, but because I want to do it. My opponents have also voiced their concern of our search and rescue team. I would just like to say that even though I back this program 100%, and I'm also a member, it was started by and is ran by members of my staff who, like myself, want to give something back to the community as volunteers, just like all the brave firefighters in this county. This, again, costs the taxpayers of the county nothing. In a mostly rural county, if we had a child or a senior citizen who was lost or missing, wouldn't you want every resource available to be used to find them? Lastly, we have been working for the last 2.5 years to become a fully accredited law enforcement agency. We will have this completed by the end of the summer, if not sooner. This is a big deal. And why? Because it meets best practices. Would you want to go to a school or be treated in a hospital or live in a nursing home that wasn't accredited? We will then be the only law enforcement agency in Adams County to be accredited, with the exception of the Pennsylvania State Police. I'd also like to add that I'm endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police, Tri-County Lodge number 76, and our district attorney here in Adams County, Sean Wagner, along with Representative Dan Mao, Representative Will Tallman, as well as Senator Rich Alloway. Before I close, I would like to say that I represent all the people here in Adams County, Republicans, Democrats, and Independents. When I answer my phone, I don't ask which party you belong to. I simply ask how I can help you. So when you go to vote, if my name is not on your ballot, please feel free to write James W. Muller in when you cast your vote. In closing, I would like to say that it has been an honor and a privilege to have served the citizens of Adams County, and it is my hope that you will allow me to serve you for another 4 years by not only giving me your support, but your vote on May 21st and again in November. If you would like to help my campaign for re-election in any way, please feel free to call me anytime at 717-752-5144. And if you need to get that number, we can give that to you after this is over. Also, please feel free to check out my website at www.electmuller.com. I also have some flyers and more information on the table back there. Again, thank you for your time and attention, and may God bless and keep you.
Constable Redding.
Good evening. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak before you this evening. I ran 4 years ago for the office of sheriff in the Republican Party. I came in second. I had 33% of the party vote, and a total of 46% of the party was ready for a change 4 years ago. So I took that information that I had, that 33%, the fact that I had the Pennsylvania State Police Lodge endorsement, and I knew then that I would run again. I also learned a valuable lesson, and that is beating an incumbent is a tough job, and beating him in his own party is even tougher. So as this race started to shape up in the spring, I changed parties. I became a Democrat. And in Adams County, that was a pretty bold move. But I believe that people will vote for the individual and not stick to hard party lines. All my life, I've voted for individuals or issues. I never voted a straight party. So I'm hoping that the people of Adams County are intelligent enough to do the same thing. The Adams County, as Sheriff Muller said, the Adams County Sheriff's Office serves all the taxpayers, Republicans, Democrats, and independents alike. The office or the party affiliation of the sheriff really should not be a factor. When I lost last time, I didn't hide. I said to myself, what can I do to make myself a better candidate for the taxpayer? I went back to school, got my associate's degree, graduated with highest honors. I became more involved in the community. I'm a member of the Board of Directors of Survivors, which has our domestic abuse shelter and takes care of the domestic violence programs in Adams County. I also helped form Lodge 12, the Pennsylvania Fraternal Order of Constables, was a charter member and its first president. I had previously been a two-term past commander of the American Legion post in Gettysburg, Post 202. And what I'd really like to point out is that a quick review of my work history will show a desire to perform above and beyond the norm. I have a proven ability to excel and work efficiently. When I enlisted in the military, I volunteered for the U.S. Army Security Agency. They will tell you that they only took the top 10%. I had to have a top secret cryptographic clearance to be able to go to language school and become a Vietnamese translator. I also served a tour of duty in Vietnam and was awarded the Bronze Star for a classified mission that I worked on. I also worked for the Defense Logistics Agency as a civilian, and during that time, held several supervisory positions, received extensive managerial training, sustained performance awards, and cost-saving awards for implementing cost-saving ideas. I was an independent businessman. For 10 years, I owned my own restaurant and tavern. I bought it as an existing business, and I don't know how many of you know, but the restaurant business is highly competitive and has a high rate of failure for first-time owners. I not only ran a successful business for 10 years, but I expanded that business prior to selling it in 2001. At that time, I started working as a constable. And again, serving the district courts, serving warrants, prisoner transports, and civil process, much like the sheriff's office does for the county court of common pleas. During that time, as I said, I went back to school. I also trained professionally as an NRA law enforcement handgun and shotgun instructor, and through Taser International as a Taser instructor. And all of this was done with my own dime. Most people in the county don't really know what a constable is, what their duties are, or how the office works. First of all, I am an elected official at the township level. Secondly, I receive no tax dollars to fund my office. I have to supply my own vehicle, weapons, insurance, radio, so on and so forth. And then I get paid for what I do. Most of my fees are collected by either the plaintiffs in the civil cases or by the defendants in the criminal cases. If and only if the defendant refuses to pay or is unable to pay, then my costs are forwarded to the county. Last year, 70 cents of every dollar billed by the constables came back to the county. I'm also employed casually as a part-time security officer with HAC, and am their part-time firearms instructor. As you heard Mr. Mueller say, a lot of the things he does is at no cost to the taxpayer. I will say to you that's nothing more than an empty political soundbite. He currently has a budget of over $700,000. That money's being spent somewhere. He has, in fact, cost the taxpayer tens of thousands of dollars in lawsuits, settlements, failed programs, failed policies, and duplication of effort. 2011, he budgeted $2,500 for legal fees. That year, they totaled $12,792. The following year, he budgeted $5,000, spent $27,800. At the same time, when he projected $29,000 in warrant revenue, he brought in $3,600. Now, I don't know how many business people we have out there, but if you're under in revenue and over in expenses, that's not a good formula. There have been a lot of accusations on both sides about negative campaigning, what's the truth, what are the facts. I encourage all of you to go to the county website, look at the county budget, read the sheriff's narrative, and look at the numbers. Therein lies the truth. According to the latest budget request, there is an overwhelming workload in the sheriff's office. Transports, sheriff sales and foreclosures, warrants, license to carry permits are at an all-time high, while there is a shortage of personnel. Yet the current sheriff has time for a bomb dog, a mounted unit, and according to his budget request, a search and rescue team. As a constable, I understand I am not a police officer. I understand that the Adams County Sheriff's Office is not a police department. Please help me change the culture currently in the Adams County Sheriff's Office. It's time to concentrate on the mandated court business. And I'd like to close with one final thought, and it is my unique combination of experience, education, and proven performance in the combined fields of business, finance, and law enforcement that make me the best candidate to administer your tax dollars in these tough economic times. Thank you.
And Sergeant Dayton.
Good evening. I'd also like to thank you very much for having this forum. It's an honor to come out here and talk about these issues with you. As I said, my name is Brian Dayton, and I live in Mount Joy Township, and I, too, am running for the Sheriff's Office. I have over 23 years of law enforcement experience, with 11 years of specialized fugitive investigation. I was also deputized a U.S. Marshal as part of a task force. I did not work for the U.S. Marshal Service. I have led over 40 officers during critical incidents, such as earthquakes, blizzards, and other crises that come from time to time. I've done this for 19 years with the Baltimore Police Department. I hold a bachelor's degree from Johns Hopkins University, Division of Public Safety Leadership, and I'll complete my master's degree next month. I've also graduated from the Pennsylvania Police Academy, Maryland Police Academy, and the United States Army Military Police School. I've lived in Mount Joy Township with my wife of 19 years, and my son Noah, sitting right there, is my campaign manager. He loves when I point him out. I would also like to add that I've never run for a political office before. This is my first. I have no endorsements from senators, state senators, representatives, nor have I asked. My endorsements all come from the citizens of Baltimore, which all can be, or excuse me, the citizens of Adams County, which all can be viewed on my website. I think it's safe to say that that's the most important endorsement one can have, is from a citizen. A few of my positions. I am pro-Second Amendment. I firmly believe that the Second Amendment was written not to simply protect hunters or target shooters. It was to protect us as citizens from tyrants. The world is full of history where the citizenry were powerless to defend themselves, and the results were devastating. If I am privileged to be your next sheriff, I will be very vocal. You will know my exact stance right off the bat. Challenges to the Second Amendment, you'll hear from me. You'll read it. Our website will be updated, and you'll know our position. And I will work with legislators who also value constitutional rights to help preserve those rights. I'll also implement new technology. One concept is a notification system for businesses. If a business has a summons or a court order or anything, that does not require a deputy to come out and specifically serve it at their location. This system, an established business could sign up for it. An email or text message would be generated to the owner of that business, and they can come down to the courthouse and pick up that summons, and we can sign for it there. What does that do? Well, there's not a whole lot of things the sheriff's office can do for businesses, but we can keep deputies out if it's unneeded, out of their business, disrupting their normal operations. I think that's a valuable service. I also talked to many business owners in Adams County who thought it was also a great idea. Unfortunately, sometimes being part of business is part of going to court too. And as Mr. Mueller said, he calls it a criticism about 8,000 warrants. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was his language. That was written in the 2012 Adams County tax budget, page 94. And he states we have nearly 8,000 warrants in the county. And he also states that he needs another deputy, a clerk, and the institution of an on-call deputy program to challenge, to reduce this. And he says this is a public safety concern. Well, this is part of the reason I decided to run. When I read this, and then I did some math, and 8,000 warrants per capita for Adams County, well, that's more than Baltimore City per capita. Well, now he says it's 6,000. It's down to 6,000. Great. Still too many. That's 6,000 people who wanted on warrants. And then he'll also say that, well, some of them are for misdemeanors. Well, I've served warrants for 11 years. And unfortunately, sometimes a misdemeanor offender, they also have violent offenses in their past. They're not to be taken lightly. And then furthering my research, I find out that the sheriff has been the prisoner transport bus driver. He's the canine handler. He's a firearms instructor. He's the operator of the past motorcycle unit, a team of the search and rescue unit, and he's the sole operator of the mounted unit. Well, that shows passion, granted, but that is not the role of the sheriff. The sheriff is the chief administrator of the office. What I like to put it, how I like to phrase it is, imagine Jack Welch, GE CEO. Imagine him going down on the line and working on the line or doing his subordinates' jobs. Stockholders would sell their stock overnight. The sheriff must be there to administer. If there is an incident where let's just use this as an analogy, the horse steps on somebody, and it does happen, who investigates the sheriff for negligence? No one. It's his role to investigate policy disruptions or negligence on his deputy's behalf. He's to make the determination if policies were broken and punishments or discipline need to be dealt with. As sheriff, I will do a needs assessment on these units. If it's not, they show no successes and they're just a fringe unit, they will be eliminated. I will institute a warrant task force, and it will be comprised of all who want to participate: police, constables, deputies. I've served in one for 11 years. It works excellently. Targeted enforcement. For instance, say you have a bunch of cars get broken into. Well, the chief of Eastern Adams Regional can call us up and say, hey, we're having a problem. We have a crime trend. Can you help us out? Well, we'll pull the warrants for theft and property crimes of those who are wanted in the area, and we'll come out and serve them. We've seen great successes with this, and many other law enforcement agencies are going to this methodology. It's combining forces to achieve the one goal that's the most important thing. That's public safety. All this is just a brief glimpse. Anyone who wishes to visit my website, it's electdayton.com. There's material in the back, and my son will hand out some flyers at the end of the event here. If anyone needs clarification on any standpoint I have, please call me and ask. My numbers are on their website, and it's on the cards. You should demand, absolutely demand, specific positions from your elected officials. Thank you.
I forgot to mention in my opening comments that tonight's event is being broadcast over our in-house TV service, and that broadcast will be repeated during the week. I think at this point it would be helpful, Sheriff Mueller, if you could give us kind of a capsule of what are the duties and responsibilities of the Office of Sheriff in Adams County.
We have a lot of duties that people don't understand what the Sheriff's Office does. We not only, and when we bring in these warrants, I'd like to clear up a couple things first, though. In answer to some of the things that were brought up here tonight, while my opponents are entitled to their opinion, they're not entitled to make up facts.
Could you answer the question? I'd like to know more about what are the duties and responsibilities of
we do everything. The Sheriff's Office does everything from court duty. We set into courtrooms when we bring prisoners in from the prison to and from the prison to Central Court to the other 3 courtrooms that we have in there. We set in on the domestic relations courtroom, Court of Common Pleas, the criminal courts. The magisterial districts now meet in there. We sit in their courtrooms. We are responsible for security in all those rooms. We transport prisoners across this state from any prison around or out of state even. We serve warrants. We serve civil papers. We serve landlord-tenant complaints, evictions. You name it, we pretty much do. We also do traffic. I mean, we are authorized to do traffic. We don't do it as our job, as our main function, but if we're going from point A to point B and we see somebody run a stop sign or red light or something like that, we will pull them over and we can cite them for that, so we do that. But we don't do that that's not our main job. But we just won't overlook it if it happens right in front of us. We also serve protection from abuse orders for the courts, confiscate weapons, issue gun permits, concealed carry permits for everyone in the county, which those have tripled here late. So that'll give you pretty much an overview of what we do.
Okay. Is there anything else that you gentlemen would like to add to that, or is it anything that was missed? Okay. Sergeant Dayton mentioned the Second Amendment. I'd like to know whether each of you, this is a question for each of you, do you favor strengthening gun laws to ban the ownership of military-style assault weapons? Maybe we could start with...
Okay. No, I don't. And, you know, I've buried several friends over the years. I've sat by their bedsides. They were shot. Not one has been whenever they're coining as an assault weapon. Again, the Founding Fathers, when they wrote the Second Amendment, it was to protect us from exterior and potentially interior threats. All the incidents that we've seen recently, they were people that should not have had guns to begin with. Most of the crime you're seeing are from people who should not have guns to begin with. We must really strive to look at our mental health and also our criminal justice system with regards to keeping criminals in jail instead of letting them back on the street. It's very important to get the bad actors out of the community. They're the ones who are going to use whatever means is available to them, be it a knife, be it a gun, be it an explosive device. We need to work on that. You know, it's funny, somebody told me going through my travels, he said, you know, all this Second Amendment stuff, I don't understand why gun control is becoming such a hot issue over the last couple decades. He says, growing up, I could go down to the hardware store and buy a gun. You can get them in the mail order. You know, my grandfather, what he'd have in the corner of his house. We never messed with it. So we also have to look at why we're having our children doing certain things. You know, it's just amazing. We took God out of schools, and we're having a lot more issues. I don't know. But as far as the Second Amendment go, no, I do not believe that there should be any further restrictions on handguns, on firearms, or on magazine capacity.
Okay, Mr. Reddy.
My position on the Second Amendment is pretty simple. I am an NRA member. I'm an NRA firearms instructor. I do believe that you have the right to possess these instruments. But with your right comes responsibility. Responsibilities to make sure they're secure. Responsibilities that you are trained on those weapons. The other thing is as the sheriff, we don't make the law. We enforce it. So quite frankly, my personal opinions on the Second Amendment really don't come into play. If I were elected sheriff, I would enforce the laws that I was asked to enforce.
Sheriff?
Well, I don't believe there should be any more restrictions on these firearms. I believe our Second Amendment rights have been infringed upon enough. I think they need to work on enforce the laws that they already have intact right now. I mean, I think we need to be notified of these people that have mental health issues and things like that, which we don't get that now. I think that would help out a lot right there. If you look back through time here, most of the incidents that happen, it's people that had issues like that that just slipped through the cracks on it. I have a paper here, and I'll read it to you on my stance on the Second Amendment. As your elected sheriff here in Adams County, I understand that my main responsibility as sheriff is to protect the citizens of Adams County and to preserve their individual rights and freedoms. I took an oath to protect this country as a United States Marine, and I've taken that same oath again as your sheriff. Both times I've taken this oath, it was taken very seriously. As a combat veteran, I've lost a lot of dear friends defending this country we love, and our forefathers put their life on the line while adopting our Constitution, and I did not take that lightly. I personally feel that your rights and mine should never be infringed upon because of one person's interpretation of the Constitution. That being said, I feel it is important for you to know that I am a constitutional sheriff and have been for quite some time. I've attended 2 separate conventions in Nevada concerning constitutional sheriff issues. And you should also know that not only am I legally prohibited from enforcing any law that is deemed unconstitutional, I personally would never allow myself to be a part of any gun confiscation in Adams County that is constitutionally illegal.
Okay. Sheriff, you had wanted to make some comments before, and you can go ahead and do that now.
Again, like I said, my opponents are welcome to their opinion. They're entitled to their opinion, but not to make up facts. And some of these facts that they're putting out here right now aren't true. Mr. Redding projected to the fact that there's tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees in my office. This is simply not true. I spent $75 on one person, and I spent $1,725 on another disgruntled employee that left, and that was just because you have to do the legal paperwork. That's all I've spent. That doesn't constitute tens of thousands of dollars, period. And again, that is in the budget. So you can look that up. As far as my mounted unit, I don't have a mounted unit. I have one horse, and it belongs to me. And apparently my constituents here don't understand the word volunteer. What I do with my time is up to me. If I choose to come home from work every day after putting my 40 hours in, plus if I choose to come home and do something like this to volunteer for the community, as far as I can see, there's no harm, no foul. This is my way of giving back. I've lived in this community pretty much my whole life. Well, you know, I see nothing wrong with putting something back in the community. They brought up about this projected warrant income and called that a failed program. That isn't a failed program. That was something that I put before the commissioners, and I asked them, when I told them I needed another deputy, to start an on-call program. And I told them if they could do it, I'd see if I could justify it by serving enough warrants to pay for his position, which the commissioners, they pull the purse strings over there. And they didn't go along with it, so it just never happened. That's not a failed program. That's just something that we didn't see eye to eye on. Mr. Dayton said he brought it up about me being the operator of the motor unit. We got a motorcycle donated to our office for $1, a brand new Harley Davidson, which we used for $1. I did not ride that motorcycle. I had a deputy that rode that motorcycle, not me. You know, the bus, when we got the bus, yes, I operated that bus for the first, till I got somebody that got their license to help. Right now, as it stands, we have 3 other people in that office that can operate that bus. And why shouldn't I operate the bus? I can just sit in my office, I guess, and twiddle my thumbs and not do nothing, or I can get out there and earn my keep. As I said, I was a bricklayer for 25 years, and I know what it's like to work hard, and I'm not afraid to pitch in wherever I'm needed. I'm not just going to sit in my office and do nothing and command everybody else to go do this and go do that. We're too small an office for that. Everybody has to pitch in. We have a great bunch of guys in that office right now, and we all work really good together, and none of us are afraid to jump in and help the other person out, no matter who you are or what your rank is, from myself to the chief deputy to our lieutenant, sergeant, and down to the deputies. That's just the way we operate. And as far as my horse, if it steps on somebody's toe, the state police will investigate that. That's what they're for. They're unbiased, and they'll come in and investigate me if they feel it's cause to do that. And the search and rescue team, they keep bringing this up. Again, this is all voluntary. These are guys in my office that wanted to do something also for the community, to hand it back to the community. They don't charge anything for this. It wasn't in the budget. It wasn't put in the budget as a cost. It's something that these guys got together and said, hey, would you mind if we start this up? And I said, sure, because I wanted to be involved in it also. So again, I really don't understand this. I mean, to me, it's a good thing. I donate a lot of my time all year long. I belong to the Easter Bunny Foundation, where I dress up like a 6-foot bunny. And I go out and I give toys to underprivileged kids in the hospitals and stuff, and nursing homes I go around to. I go to every school in the county, and I give them a deputy field program and teach the kids from kindergarten to 4th grade about stranger danger and internet safety and bullying and things like that. I belong in Fight Crime, Invest in Kids. I mean, I belong to a lot of different programs, and I don't care. I'm pretty busy. I keep myself out there, but I enjoy doing it. So as long as it doesn't cost you people anything, as far as I'm concerned, I don't see anything wrong with it. That's pretty much all I had to say. I just wanted to clear those things up because, again, like I said, they're entitled to their opinion, but not to make up facts. And those are the facts.
Do either of you want to comment?
Well, all I can say is that I took my numbers from the county budget, and I also filed a right-to-know request concerning the 2 lawsuits. And I have that information available. Anybody wants to send me their email address, I can forward all that information to you. And again, to reiterate, Sheriff Mueller says his attorney only got $75 or whatever for personnel matters. Clearly, the budget shows otherwise. In that second lawsuit that year, $27,000, it shows right in the budget for legal and solicitor fees. Now, what Mr. Mueller's good at is smoke and mirrors and distraction. He said that his solicitor did not receive that money. He's right. His solicitor didn't, because the county used an out-of-town lawyer to the tune of $20,000. Those are facts and figures, either from the budget or as the result of a right-to-know request. You can color it any way you want. I will stand by that those are the facts, and I can back them up in writing.
Mr. Redding's absolutely right. I do agree with him in that. As a matter of fact, I have a copy of the settlement agreement with me today. And just doing a quick breakdown on it, it looks like invoices to attorneys were about $9,700, and the settlement with the deputy in question was roughly $9,000 in back wages and $16,500 in damages, which was a total cost to the taxpayer about $35,200. And we also have to look at, Mr. Mueller's asking, well, he's saying, well, why is it a big deal if I decide to do this on my time? Well, your time is the county taxpayer time. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It is, you're down in Florida with your family and a deputy gets hurt. You're on a plane leaving them, coming up to make sure your deputy is okay. Why should you not have ride the prisoner transport bus as a bus driver? Okay? One of your deputies are hurt. Critical incident pops up. You have a bus full of prisoners. What are you going to do with them? You have to process them back in. You're stuck. These are why we have a rank structure. And this is where you have a problem when somebody doesn't have experience in policing, law enforcement, sheriff, management. This is what happens. They want to take the roles of the deputy. The role of the deputy is to perform these functions, and you reward them for performing them well. I want to see their name in the paper. I want to see them doing good acts. I want to pin ribbons on their uniform. There's also about the mounted unit. Well, no, the state police does not investigate policy infringements. So if the sheriff has a manual, a policy manual, and a deputy does something wrong out of policy, it's the sheriff who's supposed to do this. This is what I do every day. Every law enforcement entity in the United States that has a rank structure does it the exact same way. If a policy is neglected, the rank investigates it all the way up the chain, and the sheriff makes the ultimate determination of if there is a wrongdoing and any corrective measures taken. It's that simple. It's the same way as in every job.
Okay, do we have any questions from anybody?
I'd like to rebut that one statement.
Okay.
When it comes down to that budget, that is not true, period. I mean, if you check what Mr. Redding's figures are right now that he took out of a budget earlier, yeah, that might ring true, but it isn't true, because when I saw it in the budget, I asked the commissioners why it was there, because we had an employee that worked for me that did something wrong, that took a medical leave, left the office and didn't do or did do something wrong, and HR fired her. I had nothing to do with it. They terminated her without even asking me. They just terminated her. And when I asked them why that was put on my budget then, because apparently she felt it was a wrongful termination, and so she sued the county, and she won apparently. But it had nothing to do with me. And when I asked the commissioners why it was put on my budget, they said, well, that's just the way you do business. I mean, she worked for you, so we put it on your budget. And so since then, I've told them, you know, that I didn't have anything to do with it. It's been taken off of my budget. So if you do want to check something on the budget, check the current budget, not the facts that he has right now, that he took from a previous budget. I mean, because I'm not a liar, and that's just the way it is.
Is there anyone that has a question they want to ask? Okay.
I've heard reference to the term sheriff's sale. What is a sheriff's sale, and what does the sheriff have to do with a sheriff's sale?
We go out, we send notice out to these people when the lawyers or the banks want to repossess a property. We go out, we itemize all the things there to try and recoup the money that's owed on it. And then if that's not possible, then we bring them back into the office. We'll have a sheriff's sale. I think we got them scheduled now once a month. And we do sometimes 30 to 40 of them at a time. And there's an upset price that comes up on there. Like the bank will be in there. They'll put a bid in on a house. And normally they won't let it go for anything less than what they have in it, bottom line. And they'll give you that upset bid price, and then everyone else that's there is allowed to bid on that property also. And that's held in the courthouse.
Yes, sir, in the back. If you wait until you get the microphone, yes.
I would just like to make one comment, and I have one question. The idea of a warrant task force is outstanding. It brings all your resources to the crime areas. And one question for Sheriff Mueller. With the outstanding warrants, how many warrants are attempted daily?
How many are attempted daily?
Yes.
That depends on our workload. I have 2 men out there serving warrants versus 18 constables. I have 2 men serving warrants every night. They also serve civil papers. They also do landlord tenants, just like I stated before. They do evictions. They do PFAs. They do a lot of stuff out there. They can't strictly concentrate on warrants. It just can't be done. It's easy to sit on the outside here and say what you'll do when you come into that office. But you can only do what you can do with what you have.
So the outstanding warrants aren't assigned to any one deputy?
No one in particular. If we get a call in, say we're through the middle of the day, and these guys are up in court, or they get a lax moment in there, and somebody calls in and says, hey, I know where someone is, then they'll go out and get them. And at night, if they're out there purposely doing warrants and everything else at the same time. They've been doing pretty good. They normally average 2 to 3 a night. But you have so many warrants out there, and Mr. Dayton should know this because he says he's on the warrant task force down in Baltimore. They have over 42,000 warrants down there. They don't seem to be making much progress with that. And that's because the warrants keep coming down. They keep coming down. They move out of the county. They move out of the state. You can't, they're unserviceable. I could have a person right now that I know lives in Emmitsburg, Maryland, and has a warrant on him, and I can't get him. If it's for fines and costs, I can't touch him. They won't extradite him back for fines and costs.
We've had 2 different figures tonight, 6,000 or 8,000 warrants. That seems to me to be a lot. Maybe we'll ask each of the candidates, what do you recommend or what policies would you put in place to reduce the number of outstanding warrants in the county?
I'll go ahead and go first. We have everything in place right now to reduce the warrants. We've done everything we can, even to the point of going to the Court of Common Pleas judges, and they've eliminated some of the warrants that are just like parking tickets and things like that. There's a lot of warrants out there people don't understand, are just like common people, just like you, that maybe got a parking ticket or something like that and didn't pay it. And if you don't go in and you don't pay it, then guess what? It turns into a warrant. So there's really not much else we can do to serve these warrants. We work with the Marshal Service 1 day a week where we serve the more serious warrants to get them off the streets. We've used a merchandiser to put our most wanted in there. We get a lot of calls in from that. We've also started something in the local Gettysburg Times paper where we're putting pictures in there, and we get some phone calls on that. So any chance we get to serve these warrants, we do it. But you only have so much staff to work with, and you have to work with what you have. And again, maybe people tell you, well, you can't tell the sheriff's office what to do, and that may be true to a certain extent. But guess what? The commissioners pull the purse strings on this office. And if they tell you you're not going to do this or you're not going to put this guy out there, then you can't do it. That's just the way it is.
Constable.
The warrant situation is pretty multifaceted. First of all, warrants are like crimes. Not everyone is as serious as it sounds. A lot of the warrants, as Sheriff Mueller said, are for summary offenses, parking tickets. A lot of the problems, quite frankly, has to do with some of the magistrates. They're pretty liberal with payment plans. A gentleman commits a crime, he pleads guilty, judge puts him on a payment plan. Well, some of these judges will give him 90 days to start the payment plan. Well, in those 90 days, he can be out of the county, out of the state. A lot of the warrants are reissued time and time again. The judge, it's complicated. The judge doesn't want to commit someone to prison for not being able to pay their fines on a summary offense. So they keep reinstituting the payment plan, which keeps the warrant count high. I mean, that's just one aspect of it. So it isn't just that warrants aren't being served. Sometimes they're being issued faster than they can be served. And as Sheriff Mueller said, a lot of times these people are out of state. A lot of them have multiple warrants. I mean, in the past 10 years, I've served people that have had 17 to 20 warrants on them, on an individual for multiple bad checks or whatever. So how do you solve that? Cooperating with other agencies is one way. Now, Sheriff Mueller talked about the on-call deputy program and how the commissioners pulled the purse strings. What he forgot to say was that he had instituted the program, had sent a letter to all the police departments in this county and surrounding counties stating that if they got someone with a warrant, they were to call his on-call deputy, rather than call one of the 18 constables who were sitting at home not on the taxpayer dollar. It was only after the commissioners deemed it wasn't worthy was the program ended in about 3 weeks' time. So yes, in fact, it was a failed program.
Sergeant Dayton.
Well, how to address this, I mean, that is true. Actually, one mistake was there's actually only 38,000 now in Baltimore open warrants. We started out with 52,000 before the institution of the Warrant Task Force. The Sheriff's Office in Baltimore has about 4,100, which accounts for the other number. How do you accomplish reducing warrants? There's several methods. Operation Safe Surrender. It's sponsored through the U.S. Marshal's Office. I was part of that. And you want to talk about changing people's lives? Say somebody does have multiple warrants for parking tickets or a nonviolent offense or not involving theft or anything of that nature. Well, this program, the individual goes to a church and turns themselves in. We're there. The whole court system's at the church. You have no idea. You'll have people in business suits showing up saying, you know, the reason I'm here is because I didn't want to spend time in jail with those prisoners over there. Those, you know, I wanted to just get this dealt with. So you had people lined up in business suits. You had people that couldn't get jobs, that were just petrified to go to jail, and justifiably so. But they received preferable treatment from the judicial system. They had representation. They had the complete court system at the church. That's a way to get rid of the minor warrants, the summary offense warrants right away. And it works. Having my deputy serving warrants at night, no, that does not work. You have far better, I mean, this is operational, but you have much better chances of catching people early in the morning. And I know because we've done this for 11 years, and we started at different times of the day, and we went from a unit of 125 people who were serving warrants at different times of the day to serving them from 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. Now, these were your misdemeanor offenses. They weren't your summary offenses. These were people that may have done an assault or a harassment, something of that nature. And deputies should be able to be assigned the more serious warrants so they can work on it and develop it. And if it's a kidnapping, for instance, well, guess what? Then they will be deputized marshals, and we will seek funding with the U.S. Marshal Service and in partnership with them, and we will go find that person and get them if it's in a regional area where they can drive to. The neat thing about warrants is if it's extraditable, I could call down to Miami-Dade, Florida, and say, hey, could you go pick up this guy? They'll go pick him up for you. They'll be extradited back. Training. That is pivotal. A lot of people don't realize how specialized warrant service is. There are several laws. There's Payton versus New York, which covers primary warrant addresses, primary addresses for warrant service. There's Staygold versus the United States. These are two pivotal Supreme Court decisions which governs how a law enforcement officer serves a warrant at a location. And you have to be very careful. There are tools, investigatory tools, that are no cost to the taxpayer that can be taught. And it should be a specialized unit. If we get a task force established, we will have constables on board with us that wish to do it. They will train with us. We will all train together. We will do tactical training together. It is a dangerous job. You do not know what is on the other side of that door. I've been in shootings with warrant service. It's not a good experience. Been in knockdown, drag-out fights serving what some people would say was a summary warrant or a failure to appear for a nonviolent crime. They cannot be taken lightly. Your deputy's safety, your constable's safety, your police officer's safety is paramount.
Okay, I have a question for Sheriff Mueller. The Gettysburg Times recently reported that there is a fourfold increase in the applications for concealed carry weapon permits. Could you explain to us what the criteria is that your office uses to determine whether a citizen is permitted to carry a concealed weapon?
When you come in, we have a paper right there in our lobby. You fill it out. You put your references down on there, and you check off a lot of boxes stating that you're not a convicted felon and a lot of other questions that they have on there. After you do all that, we call your references to make sure that you're good to go, and then we call the Pennsylvania State Police, and they do a criminal background history on you. Now, if they send it back and say that you didn't pass their history check, then we can't issue you a permit. But if you clear that and you're all right with that and your references come back fine, then we go ahead and issue you a permit.
Is there any mental health check that is done?
That would all come up, it should all come up on the criminal history check from the state police when they do a PICS, what they call a PICS check.
Okay. Is there any other questions from the audience? Okay, it's 8 o'clock, and I guess we will give each candidate an opportunity for any closing comments that you want to make, and we'll start with Sergeant Dayton.
Well, again, thank you very much. I really do appreciate the opportunity to come out here. You know, sometimes change is difficult, and sometimes new ideas are viewed as threatening. Well, that's not my intention. The intention is to make the sheriff's office more operationally effective, and things change. I think it's time for change, new ideas, a fresh perspective. We have to build strong partnerships with our law enforcement partners in the county. This is a time where we have budget crunches, and by working together, we can all help one another, save the taxpayer dollar, and provide premium public safety. You know, I would just ask that you, over the next couple weeks, you look at all the issues, all the stances, and you make a determination not based on just friendships or because you recognize a name, but because the candidate has something that interests you that you want to see move forward. Thank you.
Okay. Constable Redding?
I'd just like to close by saying these are tough economic times, and every dollar counts. So we've heard different figures being tossed back and forth. Again, I ask you to just do your own homework. Go to the county budget, look at the numbers. There is definitely room for improvement. And again, thank you for your time and for coming out this evening.
And Sheriff Mueller?
Again, I would just mirror what Constable Redding just said. Do your homework, make your choices wisely, and I'm sure you will. You're pretty competent voters out there, and you'll come up with the correct person for the job. Again, like I'm telling you, I love my job. I love what I do. I've done it long enough that I feel I can do the best job in there for you people. And as long as I love what I'm doing, I'm going to keep on doing it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Let's give a round of applause for the candidate. Gentlemen, we'll let you be excused, and I'm sure you want to maybe shake some hands in the back. Before we leave, I want to just recognize some other folks that are in the audience tonight. We've invited some of the other candidates that will be on the ballot. Is Kelly Lawver in here tonight? Okay, she is running for Clerk of Courts on the Republican ticket. Mr. Bob Jackson is here this evening. You want to stand, Bob? He is a Republican candidate for the office of Treasurer in Adams County. And Mr. Robert Hubbard, is he here this evening? Okay. And then we have on the Democratic ticket Terry Adamick, who is the current treasurer. She's in the back. You might want to say hello to her. She is current treasurer of Adams County. We have Dorothy Stambaugh, who you will meet when you go to vote here at the NYCARI. She is running for an inspector of elections. And our own Terry Mobley, I don't see Terry this evening, he is running for the judge of elections on the Democratic ticket. Jim Lafferty, is he here this evening? Jim is a supervisor of Oxford Township, and he is running for a supervisor position again. And Lisa Kaiser, is she here this evening? She is running again for the position of tax collector. When I talked to her, she said that this is the last day that people pay taxes, and she might not be able to come and say hello this evening. So those are the folks that will be on the ballot. There also will be judges, I think magistrate judges that will be elected. There's another event, political event, in Gettysburg this evening where most of the judges are. And so we hope that you'll come back to NYCARI here and cast your vote. And it's on the 21st of May. And again, thanks for coming out, and make sure you intermingle with our candidates this evening. Thank you very much.